welcome back. Go tell your friends to watch this show. I need the money. Jill Savage joins us. You see her, you love her, you know her. Constantly Outkick the tailgate everywhere. All right, I'm getting right into it with you. I'm watching Army-Navy. I'm thinking it's the best-looking game of the year. I love those helmets. I love those uniforms. What say you?
I am right there with you, Dan. Good morning. Happy Tuesday to you. I believe that when I look at this, this game in particular, it's one of those things that I kind of just go through this and feel like Army, when they're running out with the flags, it's incredible to see that sight. And Navy with the uniforms and everything that you're talking about, it's so cool just to see that in practice. And I was actually able to work an Army Air Force game at West Point at one point in time. So you get the feel of it, but Army Navy is just like a whole new ball game that takes you to another level.
I thought, what did they say? Each helmet took like 6 hours to hand paint or whatever. I just thought the whole thing, man, the uniforms, and I know, the game was fine. I know Army's upset. The Black Knights didn't get it done, 8-3 and all that, and Navy upset them, and Navy looked better on the line. I get all of it, but God dang, those places do it right for that game. I don't know, it's just incredible to me, Jill.
It really is. And the fact that we got a good game out of it as well. And I love that the guy that had the fake punt was like, I didn't even know that this was going to happen. Like nobody told me ahead of time. So what great instinct and reaction that they had in that game. And some, when it's the only game on the slate, we are very excited always just to see that game and the pageantry and the singing afterwards. It means so much more. And it's incredible to see just the patriotism around the game as well.
Yeah, I don't think we talked about it enough. I didn't talk about it, and I wanted to make sure I got that in. All right, does college football have a problem here? You got Bo Nix, the captain, Slovis, Keaton Slovis, the USC quarterback. I thought he looked pretty good. Freshman came in and looked. Are we on, the kid, Rattler transfers to South Carolina. You've got the kid Ewers, it makes $1 million, leaves Ohio State. Do we have a problem here? Is this thing not good in college football with high-profile quarterbacks?
No, I don't think that there is a real problem because if you just take Ohio State out of it, then all three of the quarterbacks that you just named didn't have their head coach in place. They all have new head coaches now from when they went into their program to where they are right now, right? Bo Nix, maybe he'll follow Gus Malzahn down to Central Florida. Who knows? We still don't know where he will land in the transfer portal. But you mentioned Spencer Rattler. Like, he didn't have the job at Oklahoma anymore. Caleb Williams clearly was going to be the starting quarterback there. He lost out. So he went to a program in South Carolina that had 4 quarterbacks on their roster that they didn't know, week to week. They were down to a grad assistant, like just to figure out who was going to be their quarterback this season. And then Keaton Slovis as well. It was one of those situations where there was another good freshman in place on his team that he didn't have that starting job secured. But also his head coach is now going to go be the coach at Georgia State instead. So I don't think that when you look at the landscape in college football, these feel like, right, we saw so many coaches changing jobs this offseason in particular. If they can move around like crazy, and they have given the players now a little bit more flexibility to do so with the transfer rules, and NIL playing a part in that, especially with the kid from Ohio State making a good chunk of change now going back to the state of Texas, where he'll probably make even more. You just add all of that up, and it's like there's not a lot of loyalty from the coaches, and it doesn't feel like there's a lot of loyalty from the players anymore. It's interesting when you do see kids that stick with a program, and go through all of that adversity. And that's why some of these fan bases love those kids and love these stories. And like the Army-Navy game, we were just talking about it, right? These are guys that are just going to stick around for the program because it means more for them. So when you do see that loyalty, like if you're a fan of a program, let it be known, because it's not going to happen for that much longer. I don't feel like everybody's just jumping ship.
Yeah, I talked to a coach last night, told me when he talks to a 17-year-old, he's got to meet with the agent. And then to get a kid, it's no longer, hey, we're going to get you academics. I'm going to get into that in a little bit. I personally don't care anymore. It does, I'm like, this is such crap. I don't care. But I did find it interesting that particularly Bo Nix, his dad went there, the whole deal. But you make a great point about the coaches. All right, I think I follow this. I don't follow it as close as obviously you did. But who the hell is Dan Lanning, and why is he at Oregon?
Oh, so Dan Lanning, the Georgia defensive coordinator, is now the new head coach of the Oregon Ducks. He's 35, married with 3 kids, and he's a relentless recruiter, right? When you look at his resume, he's worked under Nick Saban, Kirby Smart, Mike Norvell. When I looked at this, I thought, okay, great pedigree. If you're Oregon, you want someone from that coaching tree. We've talked a lot about Nick Saban and the 2015 staff that he put together this season, because it's Lane Kiffin, it was Mario Cristobal, it was Kirby Smart, it was Mel Tucker. Well, Dan Lanning was a GA on that team. So just think of all of the coaching prowess that he was able to glean from that staff in particular. And the thing that impressed me the most about Dan Lanning was we heard the story of when he got his first GA job with Pittsburgh. He drove 13 hours to make sure that he could get a meeting and just get in front of these people to start his coaching career. His parents are both teachers. At the introductory press conference for Oregon, he named his 7th grade PE teacher and said that he had such an impact on his life that at that moment he knew he wanted to be a coach or a teacher or somehow give back and impact these students. And whether it was at high school or the college level, he didn't know exactly how it was going to work out for him. But I thought that was pretty telling, that if you have like your 7th grade PE teacher and you're dropping that at your first introductory press conference as a head coach, that meant something to me. And the fact that he's just going out there as such a relentless recruiter that we've seen from this Georgia defense that he's been able to be a part of and help build up, that was impressive to me. But when I also looked at Oregon bringing in a defensive guy, it's not really what you think of for the Oregon Ducks. But he was out there saying, explosive plays are definitely the key to college football. So he's going to take his time figuring out who he wants his offensive coordinator to be. But I think that, there's a good young talent, but Oregon, they are rolling the dice because it is his first head coaching job. And you would think that a program like Oregon might have gone for a head coach somewhere else.
Well, you told me Justin Wilcox turned it down from Cal.
Yeah, so he did. So Justin Wilcox, for those of you that aren't familiar with the Oregon program, so the Wilcox practice fields are actually named the Wilcox family fields. So Justin went there, his brother played there, and his dad, who's an NFL Hall of Famer, also played at Oregon. So a lot of the Eugene fan base thought that if Wilcox was offered the job, he'd jump at it. That wasn't the case. Now, I think that there are a couple of reasons for that. Anytime that I had spoken with Justin, anytime that Cal had gone back to play at Oregon, he would always downplay it. He's like, guys, I played there a million years ago. It's not about me. It's about these kids. The fact that I played at Oregon has nothing to do with this game. There was never an urge from Wilcox to go back there. Now, Dan Lanning, I said, married, 3 kids, has his, personal life taken care of. Justin's not married, never had any kids. And for him, I think being in Berkeley and being able to just walk around as another person and not have the spotlight on him, he deflects attention every chance he gets. He's much like his dad. But the fact that he grew up in Junction City, just north of Eugene, his parents still live there. It just wasn't a life that he wanted to go back to. And when you look at his situation at Cal, COVID in Berkeley, I don't think that there's any worse city to be in with all of the restrictions. So a lot of people thought maybe this was the chance that Justin would leave. But he would not be the type of guy that would go take a job to get himself a better situation, leave the kids behind just for a few years, right? Because Justin, he never wanted to be at Oregon for the long run. And he wouldn't use a job as a stepping stone to make it a better situation for himself for 2 or 3 years until another job came along. That's just not the kind of guy he is. And I thought it was the craziest thing when I heard Oregon athletic director Rob Mullins say, "Oh, Justin, we're going to have this whole marketing campaign around you. We're going to have T-shirts printed up. It's going to be the return of the hometown kid." And I thought, man, do you know who you're talking to? Like, that's the worst thing that Justin would ever have. He'd be like, don't put me on a T-shirt. Don't make this about me. It's about the kids. So I think just from the top down and the expectations that Oregon fans now have for that program, they have a very short leash, and it wasn't the Oregon program that Justin grew up with knowing and loving.
Man, that is fast. I'm the poster child for you got to win and get the hell out. I mean, I went to West Virginia, came back in 8 days, and got fired 4 years later. So 5 years later. But good for him, man. I mean, that is fascinating because 99.9% of the guys that are at Cal, with all the restrictions on Cal, are, particularly when you played there, are going to Oregon, if for no other reason than Phil Knight and his big old pocketbook, right?
Absolutely. And I just think, Justin would never be the type of guy that would leave a program. And let's be honest, Justin might be fired at the end of this season for Cal if he doesn't post some wins, right? The last 2 years with COVID, his team has gotten obliterated probably more than any because of those restrictions. So it hasn't gone exactly, to plan for him at Cal. But I think that you just look at who he is, and he wouldn't be able to live with himself if he had left those kids in a worse position just to make his life a little bit better for a year or two.
All right. That's God bless him. Good for him. I tip my Bear Bryant hat to him. Good for him. All right. Let's get some hot takes going. You ready? Oh, no, predictions. Which bowl outside, now this isn't the Power 5 conferences, but is there a bowl outside the Power 5 teams that you're kind of looking at and saying, all right, that's going to be a lot of fun?
Yeah, I was looking at all of the games, and I believe it's the Tropical Smoothie Cafe Frisco Bowl. Who knows what that means? I just know that it's in Frisco, Texas. All the other words, whatever, it'll change next year. It means nothing, but it's a matchup between UTSA and San Diego State. UTSA is 12-1. San Diego State was 11-2. That game is going to be on December 21st. So mark your calendars, everybody. That night game for you. A big one between teams that you don't really know or care about, but it's going to be good. It's a 2-point spread. UTSA is favored by 2 right now. But these teams won a combined 18 games to start the season. And San Diego State beat a Utah team that is now going to be in the Rose Bowl against Ohio State coming up. So this is going to be a pretty decent matchup of teams that you probably haven't really watched or never really paid attention to throughout this season. But this one might be worth it on the 21st.
I watched UTSA. I thought they were fast, athletic. I know they lost their last game. Brady Hoke, I really liked. He was great to my son. He's the head coach. State. Jeff Hecklinski is the offensive coordinator, and Jeff's daughter, and my wife coached Jeff's daughter the year he was kind of taking a break from coaching. So I'm a big San Diego State fan, so this game does have interest. San Diego State got the living hell beat out of it at the last game of the year. I think it was Utah State got them. Not happy with that, but I'm with you. That's going to be that's a fun game. I'm with you. Good call.
Yeah.
Very nice. Nicely done, Jill. I would expect nothing less.
Yeah, I will. I'll be watching that one. I think that's a Tuesday night, so why not?
Yeah. All right. What do you expect from teams, the disappointed teams, outside of the top 4, like an Ohio State, like a Notre Dame? What do you expect out of them in the bowl season?
Let's start with Notre Dame because the whole coaching changed, right? That is crazy in and of itself with what we've seen with Brian Kelly going to LSU, who's continuing just a crazy social media campaign down there. He's the gift that keeps on giving for LSU. So now you have Marcus Freeman.
What's he doing?
I don't know.
Hey, hold on, Jill.
Pause here. Yeah.
Brian Kelly and I are the same age. A year ago, I took my kids, family, everybody to Naples. We all went out. I had a few too many. I started dancing. All right? The next day I woke up and I go, oh, God, I hope nobody has any video of me dancing. What's he doing dancing?
I don't know. Like, it almost feels like this is a midlife crisis at this point for Brian Kelly.
Yes.
Like the way that he came out at the basketball game and now like the dancing and the videos. I'm like, okay, you just need to go away. You need to recruit and you need to build your staff and you need to do it behind closed doors where nobody's going to see you. And they're just going to talk about the bowl games and just let it lie underneath the surface of everything else, because now people are looking back at Marcus Freeman and going, oh, we might have done really well here, right? Like, you see the way that the kids reacted to him when he was introduced and how excited everybody was in that room and how he was able to keep, offensive coordinators, other coaches, everybody is rallying around Freeman. I think that was a really telling sign from inside that Notre Dame program. But what do I think of them for this, disappointment that they had?
Yeah, Ohio State, Notre Dame. What do you think?
I think that it's going to be difficult coming in and having the bowl game be your first game against an Oklahoma State team that was also disappointed, right? They lost in the Big 12 championship game to Baylor with an opportunity that if they had won, they would have been in the top 4 potentially. So you have that Fiesta Bowl with 2 teams with disappointment. However, Oklahoma State has Mike Gundy, who has been there forever. Marcus Freeman, it's difficult to prepare for a bowl game. It's not the same setup week to week, right? Like, you have this long period of time, and sometimes it takes coaches years to figure out what they want for their bowl preparation. So I think that when you look at it, the Cowboys, we've talked about their run defense a lot, especially late this season. So you're going to have to rely on Notre Dame quarterback Jack Cohen. And I just don't know that Notre Dame is going to be able to put everything in place with the chaotic offseason that they had. I think that I would still lean a little bit more towards Oklahoma State in that one. And then for Ohio State, they're going to be in the Rose Bowl, which usually is going to be a very exciting thing for your program. But under Ryan Day, the expectation is the college football playoff, right? And they were completely dominated by Michigan. So how do they come back and respond from that against a Utah team that Kirk Herbstreit said, if there was any team, if we had a 12-team playoff, Utah would be the one team that I would not want to face, right? The under-the-radar team that nobody would be talking about. He's like, Utah, don't mess with them, because they are going to own the line of scrimmage. That is what Utah does. They got better throughout the season, and they have that defense that Kyle Whittingham, and going back to your guy Urban Meyer, they've had that in place for decades now. And I think it's interesting, actually. Both of these teams are former Urban Meyer led teams that now their successors are both going to be squaring off in the Rose Bowl. So I don't know. I mean, for Ohio State, it will be a disappointment. There's no other way to look at it. When you've been in the college football playoff so many years, the Rose Bowl, it's like, okay. And Utah is going to travel well. Kyle Whittingham is 11-3 in bowl games. They don't mess around. Like, you bet, if you're Ohio State, you have to be ready to play. And I'm excited to watch this Rose Bowl because I do think it's actually going to be a really good matchup.
Yeah, I think Ryan Day has a problem. I do. I think I know he's got a problem inside the facility right now with players and transfers and stuff. But I agree with you. It's the Urban Meyer Bowl. Both teams have been enhanced by Urban being there. So I'm with you. I think that's fascinating. All right, I've got to get my picks in. We do one of these, I don't know what you call it, Pools, where the team that you think is going to win, you put like at 33, the team that you closest, you put at 1, and then the guy with the most points wins, blah,
the
blah,
confidence
blah, blah.
pool.
I've won it a couple years, and you win a couple $1,000 in cash. I need to win it this year. Who is the one team that you are, Jill Savage, thoroughly convinced will win their bowl game? They are the biggest favorite according to you.
I think – so I was looking at this. And I think that I'm going to go out to Las Vegas for my confidence pick. Wisconsin is playing Arizona State. Wisconsin has gotten better throughout the season. They started off rough right? We all saw the first 4 weeks did not go well for Wisconsin, but they were a team that gained momentum throughout the year. And Arizona State is a team, I won't say they aren't in shambles, but they aren't all together right now. They're under an NCAA investigation. They fired their radio sideline analyst earlier this season because he was talking on a podcast about how this team had too many penalties and they didn't want to play and actually, come together as a program. By the way, Arizona State, there's only 2 teams worse in the country this season in penalties. So when I put all of that together, if you can't get it figured out during the season and if you can't play a well-executed plan like Arizona State couldn't throughout this season, I don't have any confidence that you are going to be the team to go into a bowl game and beat a very well-coached Wisconsin team that even if it wasn't their best season, they are going to show up. Now, another one, just for fun, because we talked about this guy before, Tennessee and Purdue. I think it's the Music City Bowl in Nashville. Our guy, David Bell, our wide receiver, our favorite wide receiver, he's not going to be playing in the game, Dan. What the heck? He's going to go off and he's going to play in the NFL.
That's big.
Huge.
That's
huge.
big because he's a leader too. He's a guy. He's a real dude. That is big.
Huge.
Go ahead. I'm going to let you finish, and then I'm going to agree with you.
Huge for Tennessee. They are going to avoid him. Now, there was an Iowa blog that put out a heat map of the NFL fantasy football owners that are going to draft David Bell. And it was a map of the United States. And there was a little dot in Indiana that was colored in. And then the whole state of Iowa was shaded in because we know how good Bell is. Listen, we might as well be his agent here, Dan. We should get him some more money here from Outkick in this program because like that to me, when I saw that, I was like, Tennessee. They're still going to have to show up, but they're going to be in their home state with a lot of fans in the stands. And I think that, Josh Heupel in his first year, what a great job he has done. I think that Tennessee would be that next team that I would say, they're going to do okay.
Yeah, I'm writing that down because you know what? I got to have my picks in by Friday. And you're right. David Bell, I get it. A lot of people say the quarterback's the leader. A lot of people say, the big crazy lineman or the big crazy linebacker's the leader. David Bell was a guy that he was a Seinfeld. Everybody gravitated to David Bell. You know what I mean? Always have. I'm with you. I think I think those are 2 great picks. Why do you think all of a sudden the NFL is being hit so hard by COVID? What do you think's going on here?
I think it's interesting that they came out, they got hit by COVID, and now they're going to have booster recommendations or actually a booster requirements, mandate. Yeah, they are going to mandate it.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to me because it's not uniform, right? It's only for the staff. The staff has to get the booster shot. They said by December 27th, Almondra Sargera of Outkick had this article last night and all this information that if coaches don't get the booster shot, they're not going to be allowed to be around players. Players still have the choice to be vaccinated or not. We've seen a lot of these cases play out in the media throughout this football season. But now you do see a lot of the players that are testing positive. We're going into cold and flu season, right? As you get in through November, in through December, it's natural for a virus to start picking up. And we already know that if you're vaccinated, you can get and transmit the virus. We've proven that now over and over and over again. So it's the fact that we're further into cold and flu season, and the fact that the vaccine isn't 100% foolproof. You still can get it.
Yeah, you make a great. I told you this last week. You're good with thinking. You do some good thinking, lady. I didn't think about the whole cold and flu season. You're good with those words that people use, and you're good with some good thinking. That's some good thinking. Guy just said on Twitter, how many positive flu and pneumonia tests are they taking? That's a good question. It's cold and flu season.
Well,
smart.
when you look at it in the big scheme of things, right? We know now that vitamin D is a huge deal to boost your immune system, and you can't get it. You can only build up vitamin D. This is something that I learned because of COVID. You can only build it up in the spring and summer. During the fall and winter, your vitamin D levels just drop unless you take the supplements and boost them back up. So there's just a natural way of, this is why when people are going inside, everybody's going to be around each other again. It's only natural that people get sick. We didn't used to think of this when everybody had the flu. We all just thought this was normal, and everybody, you go to a birthday party as a kid in December, and you're all spreading the germs around. And I don't know. It's now just a much bigger deal because it's the NFL, and everybody's talking about this, fancy virus that we can't stop talking about.
The NBA too. Did you see where the Bulls lost 2 games? I mean, they didn't lose them; they'll replay them. Not only they were down to under 10 players, and then the 2 announcers were gone. I mean, this is going to be interesting moving forward. It really is. I think this is something to watch. See if we get these seasons in, Jill. Maybe I'm making too much of it, but I don't know. This is going to be interesting. Very, very interesting, young lady.
We'll get the games in, whether or not they have to postpone it or whatnot. But we'll get them in. I'm confident of that. I'm going to live my life like we're going to play everything like normal.
My wife just told me that the hat with the earrings that I'm looking like I'm wearing isn't a great look for an old man.
I'm going to defer to your wife on this. I'm not going to jump in. I'm not going to get in the middle of the Dakich family feud there. I'm going to let her tell you how you should look and act and all that.
Yeah. She's usually very positive, so I have to take the Jill, you're good with them damn words, woman.
You're good with them too, Dan.
What do you got going on?
Right now I'm at my sister's, which is a much nicer setup than my place. She has a beautiful tree for her children. Congratulations to her. I put up some Christmas decorations. I kind of half-assed it this year, Dan, if I'm being completely honest with you. But yeah, I'm going to have just Christmas. The Savage Family Christmas is coming up in just a couple of days. So that's going to be next for me. And we're working on some stuff for bowl season and beyond. So stay tuned.
Well, have a great Christmas, and I think you're spot on with both Wisconsin and Tennessee. Thanks, Jill.
We'll
Thanks
talk to you
for
soon,
everything.
Dan.